Single Dad was asleep in row 12 when the female captain asked, "Is there a pilot on board?" The cabin lights had dimmed and the steady hum of the engines lulled passengers into that halfway place between awareness and sleep. In row 12, seat B, a single dad finally surrendered to exhaustion, his head tilted to the side, his hand still resting lightly on his daughter's shoulder. She was 7, earbuds in, legs swinging just above the floor. For the first time since boarding, she felt safe enough to watch her movie without checking if her dad was still awake beside her. The peace shattered with a voice that didn't belong in an ordinary flight. "Ladies and gentlemen," came the calm but urgent announcement. "This is your captain speaking. We have a medical emergency with one of our crew. If there is a qualified pilot on board, please make yourself known." Gasps rippled through the cabin. Heads turned. Flight attendants froze mid-aisle, scanning the rows like they could summon one from thin air. The little girl tugged her father's sleeve. "Daddy, wake up!" He stirred, groggy. "Sweetheart, what is it?" "They need a pilot." At first he chuckled, still half asleep. "That's not something we usually have in the carry-on, kiddo." But then her words hit harder. A pilot. His chest tightened. For the first time in years, the two worlds he had tried to keep apart collided in one breath. Because before he was just dad, he had been something else entirely. He leaned back, staring at the overhead panel as though it might hold an answer. The truth was, he hadn't flown commercially in years. Not since his wife passed and he traded uniforms and cockpits for school runs and bedtime stories. He had never told his daughter much about that part of his life. To her, he was the man who burned pancakes and sang off-key in the car. Nothing more heroic than that. Now a different voice cut through the tension. One of the flight attendants hurrying down the aisle, her tone tight with urgency. "Please, if anyone has aviation experience, anything, we need help." The little girl looked up at him with wide, innocent eyes. "Daddy, you can, can't you?" He swallowed hard. That look, trusting, certain, was enough to push him past the hesitation. He unbuckled slowly, like every second mattered, and yet none could be wasted. "I used to fly," he said quietly, rising to his feet. "Take me to the cockpit." The attendant's relief was instant, though tinged with disbelief. "You're a pilot?" "Was," he admitted, "but it'll come back." The cockpit was a storm of alarms, blinking lights, and heavy silence. The captain, a woman with eyes that showed both authority and fear, explained quickly. Her co-pilot had collapsed, unconscious. They had no choice. "You're it," she said, searching his face. Something long buried stirred within him. Not pride, not ego, but responsibility. "Let's get these people home." The next 30 minutes were a blur of coordination, muscle memory, and quiet prayers. His daughter sat clutching her stuffed rabbit, unaware of the storm her father was holding back thousands of feet in the air. Passengers whispered rumors up and down the aisles. Strangers united in the shared knowledge that their lives now rested in the hands of the quiet man from row 12. When the wheels finally kissed the runway, a cheer erupted through the cabin. Some cried, some clasped strangers' hands. For a moment, humanity felt like one family. But for him, the moment came later. As he walked back through the aisle, shaking, humbled, he found his daughter waiting. She leapt into his arms without hesitation. "I knew you could," she whispered into his shoulder. He held her close, eyes stinging. She hadn't just reminded him who he was, she had reminded him why. On the tarmac, as paramedics rushed past and the female captain shook his hand with deep gratitude, he realized something. Sometimes kindness isn't about grand gestures you plan. Sometimes it's about showing up, tired and unsure, because someone else needs you to. And in that moment, surrounded by strangers who would never forget row 12, he stopped seeing himself as just a single dad. He was proof that even when life feels grounded, we all still carry the power to lift others.